Hello, Author Nation. Here we are again in beautiful St. Pete Beach. I had that corrected because I didn't. I thought it was St. Pete, St. Peter, but we call him Pete because we're close. Had a beach.
No. Old St. Peter had a beach. E-I-E-I-N.
So we're back, and we're with the founders of Indie Author Magazine.
Yeah.
Now, you've been on the podcast before in the role of our program director.
Yeah,
we're not here to talk about that.
Different hat.
Different
chapeau.
Yeah. We're here to talk about the life and times of Indie Author Magazine.
Yeah.
So introduce yourself and let's talk about it.
Sure. I'm Chelle Honiker. I'm the co-founder and publisher of Indie Author Magazine, and its sister sites, Indie Author Training and Indie Author Tools. And
I'm Alice Briggs. I'm also the co-founder of all of our assorted sites.
And the creative director.
Yes, I'm the creative
director.
You
make it pretty.
That's my job.
Yes.
And, those of us that have known you a while, we've heard the story, but there's maybe some people out there that haven't. Talk about the inception of this idea and how it became your life's passion.
Our life's passion. Yeah. Do you want me to tell it or do you want to tell it?
I can tell it.
Okay.
What?
So listen, so that'll be different because I'm usually one shoved out front. So.
Yeah. I like this play. I like this.
Love this. I can go get some coffee. I'll do that.
Well, and I've heard your version, so that I can be like, oh, really?
So I locked Alice in a room somewhere.
Where's the part? I heard about fighting a bear. And...
Yeah.
There was archery involved. It was all kinds of...
There was?
Yeah, I know.
Oh, fun. Yeah. More gin than I thought.
There was quite a bit of gin consumed by some of us. So we met in 20 Books, Scotland, Edinburgh. Mm-hmm. And both Chelle and I have been business owners for quite a while. We both have multiple businesses. We were wanting to get more into fiction. We'd been writing nonfiction. We wanted to get more into fiction writing. And so we were taking some classes. And we're like, after we got home, we'll be accountability partners, which we were, but not for the classes. So we never did get to those.
We didn't.
But once a week we would talk and strategize different things. And we both came from different kind of aspects of business. So we had a lot of commonality, but a lot of different complementary strengths. So that was helpful just in our own things. And then when Chelle was stranded and, forced to stay in...
For those of you that are listening, that's stranded in air quotes.
Yeah, definite air quotes. She had this cutest little cottage on the Irish coast during all the lockdowns. So she was stuck there, but it was, it was not a terrible thing.
I wasn't suffering.
Yeah, it was suffering for her art. So she put out the call for people to come and sprint and write and things. And so we'd hop on Zoom and from all over the place, we'd chat and we'd sprint some and write some. And then we would talk about different tools and things like that we were using in our own businesses or writing, that type of thing. So we started with this database site, and then that we needed more context for people to understand how the tools worked, because sometimes that matters. Like just to say, I use this for this. It's the how you use it that's so helpful. So both Chelle and I have a background in magazines in different industries and different parts of it. I had done designing for them. She had done production for one in the travel industry. So we both kind of at the same time had this, why don't we do a magazine? Because, why not?
And there was nothing.
And we looked, to see if there was anything for indie authors. There are other publishing related or writer related, but they were all very heavily skewed towards traditional publishing, which is absolutely fine. But we were indie authors. So, so us along with 20 of our friends started this thing about 3.5 years ago.
Yeah, time's flying.
Yeah, it is. So,
No lie. It's gone really fast.
It has. So
And some idiot decided to do it monthly. So, I mean, I was just a
Well-
headed decision.
Put that on their permanent record.
Right? Yeah.
Did a review.
The whole genesis of it was working indie authors, just sort of sharing what was working at the time and to celebrate and to define success for ourselves, because there were a lot of methodologies that were out there that people were trying to chase, or they felt like they had to write a book a month, or they felt like they had to do things. So we wanted to pay attention to how they could define success for themselves, and how they could also pay attention to the holistic 360-degree view of their author career. So we have health and wellness that we cover extensively in the magazine. We cover time management and productivity, and how to rest, how to take breaks, how to take care of yourself, how to stretch, how to do chair yoga, how to, there's all these different aspects to being a career and having a long career. So.
Yeah, right. And given the time that you started that, there was a lot of people that were either locking into one idea or not really clear, like, where they could think about, like, get help to think through evaluating if that particular way of doing things was right for them.
Right. And there was a lot of people had a lot of free time, right? So now a lot of people were starting to write books and starting to think about how they could turn that into a career or how they could pivot. There was just a lot of change in general happening in the world. And so we tried to be an oasis for people to try and figure that out in a really practical way, in a sustainable way, in a friendly way, and a come alongside. It's a very generous industry. We've always said that. We've had a lot of people that have come alongside us and helped us. So this was kind of our way of giving back too. So there were a lot of reasons. It was just the right place, right time.
Well, now that we've been doing this for a while, I want to take a little different tack with this and talk to you guys about this as a way that you brought your content, right? Like, you had ideas, you came up with this idea together, you found some people to help you because you knew for something like a magazine there had to be variety of viewpoints, production, all that. But Indie Author Magazine is also an example of how you're using all the different technologies to bring content that you're passionate about to an audience.
Yeah.
Like, you're a good example for some authors that are, like, don't just look at what the articles are in the magazine, like, look at the magazine as an example of, is this something that would make sense for you in the way that you write and the way that you want to connect with an audience?
Right. And the two things that I can point to, one is we're essentially writing the market, right? We survey our audience and we ask them and we find out what's going on in the industry. We attend all the industry conferences. We have kind of, 68 now authors, and we survey them and say, what's going on? What do you want to talk about? What are you hearing? What problems can we solve? So that's one aspect of it. And then the second is we publish the exact same way an indie author would, right? We put our books out on Draft to Digital and we're wide. We publish in KDP. We publish direct on our website. We have our WooCommerce store, and we do POD through Lulu. So we do, exactly the same thing that indie authors do, but on a really condensed, monthly basis. So it's exactly the same format and content, just in a different, for nonfiction.
And beyond.
And beyond, right.
What's the and beyond? There's something you're thinking about, Alice.
Well, because we've got the podcast, we have an app, we have a lot of different distribution channels, other than just kind of like either a print or a digital version on our website. So you can read articles on our website, but we also have the app. We've got you can order print copies, and all those places Chelle mentioned. We have the podcast. We're going to be doing even more of that. So we've been playing around just in the last 24 hours with a little new toy. Chelle's going crazy.
I was up at 2 a.m. doing new stuff. We also have a YouTube channel. So all of the interviews that our writers do with their cover features and our subjects, we do it behind the scenes. We edit them down and then put them up on our YouTube channel. The mission always was to have the best version of the content in the best version of the distribution. So sometimes it's going to be video, sometimes it's going to be audio, sometimes it's going to be on the web, sometimes it is going to be in the app.
Yeah.
And it's a full color magazine, so we want people to see it in the PDF because it's beautiful. We want to see it in full color in print because it's beautiful. But we also have, a way where you can listen to any one of the articles as well. We try and pay attention to people that don't, necessarily want to read a full magazine, so they can listen to the articles.
Yeah, I think that, the other thing that I'm finding interesting is media like a magazine where people are like, oh, it's deteriorating and it's that. Is it?
Mm-mm.
Right?
I'll let Alice take this.
Yeah,
She does stats.
No, magazines are actually very, very strong. Well, print generally, especially for nonfiction. And I think just was here at NINC in a talk that there are more fiction authors actually doing print as well. So there's a big resurgence in print. And I think there's, and magazines kind of are the best of both worlds as far as having timely content. That's also, and we try and do ours as evergreen as we can. So it's not as kind of long-term as a book is. It's more up-to-date than that, but it still has that same authoritative presence as a book does. So magazines are still one of the top formats that people gather information from. So a lot, and I mean, that's digital as well as in print, but that format is still very viable. So they're just even like in my local community, I've been noticing I own a couple of smaller magazines that I'm trying to resurrect. But there are a lot more local magazines that are serving like a particular neighborhood even that are getting content because it can be delivered directly to somebody's door. So there's and it's interesting to me that we had this shift from everything coming through the mail to all online, and now there's being a shift back to that because nobody's doing that anymore. Everybody's online, so that's so noisy and crowded that then what was a red ocean is now a blue one.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of interesting opportunities, I think.
Well, and I know you're a Dan Kennedy aficionado.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's like to see people doing stuff that he was writing about in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
It's like, oh.
Yeah, what's old is new again.
Yeah. Literally, if you had that 3-ring binder with those letters in it, you might want to pull it out again.
Absolutely.
It's also the shift back to things that are tactile, right? People are appreciating bespoke. They're appreciating more artisanal, and magazines are sort of a reminder and a resurgence of that. And I think this is something that everybody should pay attention to because, like you see it in our industry, people love special editions and they love special gilded edges and they love all the different things that are coming in book boxes and all the different ways that indies can republish and have very special things to create a relationship with their readers. We're sort of doing the same thing.
I've said it time and time again, to see what's happening right now where in a particular genre they're worried about the age of their existing audience and where they were going to replace those people, and Nana's getting old and she's going to die and not be my customer anymore, and then the younger generation that's coming in is actually coming to shows and buying physical products. So it's like, so let me get this right, Nana's reading on her Kindle, granddaughter is picking up faux leather books.
It's amazing. I have a Gen Zer and her style is granny core. Like, she loves crocheted things, and she loves, she got a skirt the other day and I went, my grandmother had a tablecloth of that exact print. Everything is new again, and they do pick up those beautiful edges. And they're also upcycling things, which I think is really interesting, right? They're taking books and they're creating their own covers or their own dust jackets to make them their own. It's an artisanal, style that they're adopting. It's fantastic.
It is.
It's also a little weirded me out a bit because I'm such a digital nomad.
Well, I think part of it too is with all of AI coming into play, that's something again that authors can do to not prove their humanity, but to connect on a human level, that no AI is going to be able to do that. It just isn't. That it's not what it's designed to do, or just is capable of doing, is to be that tangible presence in somebody's life.
Well, and if you're really thinking about what you do as an experience, that experience can be a fictional story that you tell and you put in a book or you have somebody listen to, but then what's the general customer experience? Whether we're talking about maybe some direct mail piece to make that connection, or a magazine that's about the story world that doesn't just have to be, in your case, nonfiction. It's like, think about, and this has to do with Author Nation, is we're not trying to create a place for you to come imitate. We're trying to create a place for you to come innovate, right? Yes, get inspired by what Indie Author Magazine is doing. Don't go start another magazine about indie publishing. Go think about what they're doing around the messaging method, or how having a physical product delivered to a home, or how they're customizing things within that magazine to, now that they know who that reader is, they can adjust some articles.
Right. And that's coming back to, the heart of marketing is asking people what they want, solving the problem, and then giving it to them. Like, that's it. It's not rocket surgery, as my daughter says. It's not. It's really just learning who your avatar is, who your customer is, and then figuring out how you can best serve them. And most of the time, in our experience especially, people want to have a connection. They want to connect. They want to learn more. They want to have people that can answer simple questions for them. They want to have resources. They want to know, more information. And that's what we've tried to provide in the best possible way that we can. And that's how indie authors can do it too. When you come to Author Nation, I'm putting my Author Nation hat back on. When you come to Author Nation, you're going to learn about things like Pinterest. You're going to learn about things like TikTok. Those might or might not be the things that you want to incorporate into your business mix. They might be, but they might not be. So the benefit of the education there is not just learning about the product itself, but to have people in a network and a community around you to help you evaluate whether that's going to be the right thing for your business and for your readers.
Well, and how you can adapt it.
Right,
so if you don't like TikTok, but maybe Reels or some other short form video might be a more helpful thing for your readers.
Right.
Well, and from some of the conversations I've had this week with folks, like, one of the things that had come up was this idea of, like, hey, it used to be there was 2 or 3 places you would go as an author and you could kind of find out what's going on, right? Well, there wasn't all that much going on. Right? There was like, whatever this kind of big trend is, we're all on, right? It's Facebook ads, and we're all doing Facebook ads, and this guy does it a little different than that, but they're all having success, and that's a thing, and then we all regress that to the mean, and we're all getting the same results now, and it's kind of table stakes. What I heard some other people talking about was this idea of, like, I'm interested in TikTok, and I heard about this one kind of ad, and I heard about it in some weird spot. I wasn't even looking for anything, and I like, oh, this was something that was going to be really helpful for my career. And then I realized none of the big deal people that were the experts had even heard about it. Right? So I think there's also an issue now with, there's so many of these different things, to have something where you guys have the ability to kind of be, at least on a monthly basis, kind of seeing where things are at and pulling things into one bucket where you could kind of see those highlights,
right,
and be like, yeah, I'm still not ready for TikTok.
Well, and that was always the goal, was to be sure that we were a resource, right? Our tagline is "When Writing is Business," and so it's really looking at things from the context of people are storytellers, and now they have a way to slice and dice their IP and their things into different formats, and we wanted to provide a journalistic resource for them to learn about it and then go a little bit deeper, and then have the resources to figure out, how to get even further. And we've tried to do that with the Author Nation content as well, right? You have 45 minutes to learn from somebody. You're not going to learn the entire concept, but you can at least learn enough to know and make an evaluation as to whether or not that make sense for your business, and if you're going to go deeper and how you're going to go deeper.
Right.
And we learned that at CEX too, right? We looked at things from the content macro view, as opposed to, I have one book that I have to sell. Well, no, it's not a book, it's a story. And you might need to do it, or you might want to do it in an audio format. You might want to do it in an audio play. You might want to do, short reels. You might want to do, there's so many ways that you can use that story to reach readers. It's so different than even 5-6 years ago when we had the quote unquote gold rush.
Yeah.
When everybody was just running ads and copying what people were doing and drafting off of other people's success. None of that is. The possibilities are more open now, I think.
Well, I 100% agree, because kind of stepping to the other side of my business, when I look at the clients that are the funnest to work with and the having the most success, is they're trying to look for all these different resources and figure out, okay, this is what I really believe my customers are looking for, right? And so of course they'll make mistakes, right? And there's things that you find out pretty quickly, and some take longer to whether it'll work out or not. But the more that they can kind of get that influence from places and then test that out with their audience and get that, they build something that is unique and sustainable. It's not okay, Joe, could you tell me this week what is should I be running Amazon ads or Facebook ads? Right? It's no, we're trying to figure out, what does this business look like in 18 months that's going to be just this amazing experience that people are rushing the door for and sell themselves on. And then today we do that work that gets us a little bit closer.
Right.
And I think with the magazine, there's two things in that. One is as a resource to get those, shortlist those ideas, but also helping you through that thinking process. You have articles there that are designed to help you kind of think strategically and think tactically.
Right. And we come at everything from the journalistic perspective. So we are neither pro or con AI. We're going to give you the facts about AI. We're going to talk about the court cases that you should be watching to see if those things are going to impact copyright or trademark, or, how you're going to do it. But we're also going to, bubble up the different companies that are doing interesting things so that you can pay attention to them. So we don't take a stand on certain things. We just report it. And so people can understand for themselves how to do it, but then also know that there's a network of people and who you should be able to connect with to be able to take that further. So everything we do is from the evergreen perspective. So we wrote about Kindle Vella, back in the day, and we've gone back and updated those articles several times now to reflect the most current information that's available. We're constantly revising that on our website, and then if we reprint it or we make changes, the print version is updated as well.
Yeah,
so
that's cool.
It's a lot of work, but we do want to be the best resource for at least a starting point, right?
Yeah.
At least you can jump off and then find other conversations that are happening. We never want to be an echo. We just want to be able to amplify the good stuff that's out there.
So based on, where you're at now, what's the stuff that you're most excited about that you're working on for the future? And you can both have different answers. That's the fun part.
It is the fun part. Yeah.
I think I like physical things. So I'm excited for some of the partnerships that we're looking at, getting things into people's actual hands on a more consistent and ongoing basis.
Well, before we jump off that, is it okay we talk about the last thing you guys did?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we've started doing this year, and it's been of mutual benefit for everyone, which is what we strive to do in anything that we do. So for all of our different players in our ecosystem, we want it to be a win-win-win for everybody. But we've been doing special editions of the magazine for people at conferences. So, and we've kind of landed on, so far, what we think is working really well, and having some custom content geared specifically for that audience at that event, printing them, having them, handing them out, so that each attendee can have them, as well as having a flipbook version which is a digital PDF, but it has live links. So for anybody who doesn't know, it's an interactive PDF that can be delivered to the broader audience or membership of that group, because regardless of how big the group is, typically who attendees of a conference are a small subset of that. So we do also have it available digitally, but it's great, and it's just so much fun to see people sitting on their deck chair or whatever, reading our magazine. That's just kind of
We were in London and we were walking next to the London Eye, and we happened to see somebody reading the magazine. It was
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
it was like the most meta moment. It was so thrilling. And I wanted to walk up and hug her, but Alice told me I couldn't.
yeah.
Leave that lady alone.
It's my magazine. Pepper spray.
Stalker. Yeah. So that I like that. My passion is education, so obviously that's my focus. And indie author training is kind of my really exciting future forward. The very cool thing is now we're 3 years old. We're not really a baby startup anymore, and so we've got Nicole Schroeder, who's our editor in chief, who basically runs the operations of the magazine in and out. So we kind of leave those journalistic. She's the one that keeps us on the journalistic side of everything, because I speak in hyperbole. So I'll say, "This is the greatest thing ever," and she'll go, "No, this is a thing. And this is what that thing does."
While we're waiting for the cure for cancer, here's
Right.
the next thing.
Exactly. Right. Oh my gosh, it's revolutionary. No, it is a thing. So the magazine runs, right? It's just it runs well, and Nicole does a great job with that, and Alice puts it together beautifully every month. So that's freed me to do what I do, which has been this year with Author Nation, but also with indieauthortraining.com. So that is my next focus, and the thing that I'm most excited about. It's a marketplace for education and for people to come and teach classes, and we want to have it be the teachable for the indie author community, so you can learn from everybody, and the people that are teaching the best stuff, they can come and learn about the best stuff there.
Yeah, and you've shared some of the ideas around that, and having it more bite-sized and be able to break down and really create your own kind of decision tree through a learning path, and all that stuff is really different than what we are used to in the marketplace. It's
Right.
like, come in my super mega course, teach you how to make $1 million.
Well, a lot of people, I have a theory that our brains were rewired during the pandemic, and now we have shorter attention spans, right? So micro courses and gap training are really the best way for people to learn. That's been sort of borne out lately in statistics and research and industry on the education side. So we don't want these like 12-week courses. We want to have just come and learn how to use the Readsy book editor.
Yeah.
It's done, right? Here it is.
Well, that may be a theory why it is. I think the other thing is it's become so inexpensive and easy to create content, right? We're going to, over this week, probably create 15 podcast episodes with the equipment that we can carry around in a backpack.
Right.
So what is the most relevant out of that information, right? That you don't want, please, just give me the highlights,
Right.
right?
Right.
And I think that's part of it too, is I'm buying into the brand promise of this course. Could I just get to, the parts that matter for me? And, of course, sometimes you need to have some preliminary information, but too often because I've been guilty of this myself, when you're building the course, you're thinking about, let's start at the beginning, the real beginning.
Right.
Like, the more I bake, does that make it more valuable? Well, no, that's quantity, not quality.
Well, it's scope creep, right?
Yeah.
Because we want to throw everything in there, and we want to make it as big and as wonderful as we can. The philosophy that we've adopted is we have a community of learners there, and we sometimes have competing theories. So you're going to learn Amazon ads from like Merch Jar, but also like Jana Margot. So you can pick and choose which methodology and which theory works. We're agnostic in terms of a platform, so you can come and learn from whoever you vibe with, to use another word the cool kids use. And then you've also got a community there that are, people are talking about ads and talking about different things. So it's not being created as a course in a silo over here. You have a community of people, and you can bounce ideas off of people and talk about those things, which is a little bit different, right? We wanted to have kind of like with the magazine, some sort of baseline agnostic place where you could just get information. Right?
Yeah.
We don't have a theory that we say that's what you should do. It's not prescriptive.
Yeah. Well, and also, I mean, one thing that, because the three of us have been around this long enough to see, is like there's stuff that was the definitive way to do things.
Right.
It was gospel.
Right.
2018,
Yeah.
2019,
Yeah.
today. It may still be relevant, but you just have to do it because it's table stakes.
Right.
Or it's like, nope, that don't work no more.
Or it doesn't work for that genre anymore. Or
yeah.
it doesn't work for that subgenre anymore.
Yeah.
Or it doesn't work, like there's market
Yeah.
conditions that influence all of these things.
Yes.
And so you do have to treat your business as a business and pick and choose the thing that works for you.
Mhm.
Which we harp on, obviously,
Yeah.
all
Yeah,
of us.
that's true.
Treat your business as a business.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you like money?
No.
Better treat it like a business, right? All right. Well, we've got some exciting stuff coming together with our kind of partnership.
Same.
How much of that do you want to talk about? Should we just keep that secret? I don't know. It's up to you.
I'm not an open book, man. You can ask me. AMA. Ask me anything.
Well, I'm saying you take the lead on what you and I have been, the three of us have been talking. We
Sure.
had breakfast and we talked about some. I think some of that stuff probably would not only be very inspiring to some authors, but we, we're doing what we say. We're trying to do work today to be where we think the industry is going to be a year from now.
So I think one of the biggest things that we've talked about is because we've got a production engine already in play, and because we've got the content that's being written by really smart people, and because we have the network of indie authors that do that journalistic heavy lifting, we've talked about creating a magazine or special issues, because that's now what we're really feeling like we're very good at now.
Mm-hmm.
Creating a magazine specifically for readers
Yeah.
that we can have at Rave, and we can have throughout the year, that can become part of Author Nation at large, and Rave in particular, so that authors can give away copies of the magazine and make that something that they can enjoy, their readers can enjoy.
Yeah, and we're really aligning in a way where that's nice as an author. I want to read some articles about craft, or I want to read, but what I want is readers.
Right, exactly.
Could you give me a reader, please?
Exactly.
Right. So when we, you and I have got some good ideas, I think that becomes a really powerful place for discovery, which is probably the main conundrum authors face today.
It is, yeah.
Even if you are doing well, it's clear you're not getting to all the audience.
Well, it also comes back to modeling things after other industries that we've worked with. So in my case, it's been the travel industry. And one of the ways that different travel agencies differentiated was they created a magazine that they were able to give to their customers that had very specific information tailored to that luxury, Disney-bound person, right? And so because we've got the tools and the technology now, we can do those sorts of things too, where we've got a magazine directly for reverse harem readers, or for bully romance, or for whatever it is. We can produce that and be very specific, and we can pull in partners that can print them on demand and get that into the hands of the reader. So it's very, very specific and delights that reader and brings them back. The other thing that we've been working on is this, what's called the Storyteller Showcase, and that is where authors can run ads or advertise to readers, and we can get it in front of. We project 4 million readers with the way that we produce the magazine, and we get it out in different ways. So that's a little bit of a focus shift for us, but I think it's a natural progression. In fact, we ran tests, and we sort of said, well, let's see what happens. And it 10x'd our wildest expectations. So again, marketing is asking what people want and then doing more of that when it works.
Yeah, and I think that this is where you start to see things come together, where it's like, I've been reading all these things from Dan Kennedy or Dean Jackson or whoever, and now you can see how with that little sprinkling of technology makes it, even more powerful, and you can then create this new venue for people to get discovered. It's like, well, why would I want to do direct mail? Well, it's gonna show up in a mailbox.
Yeah.
Right? It's gonna go to you can't opt out, right?
Right.
It's the post office.
Well, and the post office is contractually, legally, federally bound to deliver that to them. So it's like they cannot throttle that.
Yeah.
So that's
Really
they it may go missing. I mean, they're not perfect, but
right. And the person has the ability to just tip it in the bin the minute it comes in.
yeah.
Sure.
But that's on you
Right.
for not making it.
Enticing.
Yeah. Make them
Understanding the
pause.
psychological triggers that are
Yeah.
going to get them to open it.
Yeah.
Which, to be honest, that's also why the special issues have been so successful, is because they are given to at least, in the case of NINC, 400 people. In the case of Author Nation, at least, 2,000 people. Like we've got it in the hands of people. We can guarantee that it's getting in the hands of those people, and it's a captive audience, so to speak. So that's been, as opposed to, others that talk about multi-author blogs or different things. Like, you can measure eyeballs, but having something in someone's hands as an evergreen reminder of it on a coffee table because it's beautiful is a much more effective use of ad dollars and spend, in my opinion, than anything else.
Because people don't typically, they'll throw magazines in the trash before they will books, but typically you don't throw those away.
Right.
So you might give them, but the long tail is a lot. And I think that's kind of somewhat of a shift for people to recognize that the longevity of an ad placement or the storyteller showcase is a lot longer. And nobody really knows how long that is, but it's quite lengthy.
Yeah. Are you familiar with Granger, the catalog company?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, every year when they would send that out, it was like $30 million of catalogs, right? Those things were like monsters. But they knew the power of that getting into all those guys that were doing maintenance, repair, and operations. And those guys would it would be like a library, right? Like, I've got 4 years of those catalogs.
Right.
Okay, right. And whenever there was a problem, where was the first thing that they went to? They pulled that off the shelf and they started looking, and that naturally progressed into their e-commerce business. But there's still a lot of orders coming.
Yeah,
right.
Because they've trained people, right?
Yeah.
It's the consistency and the longevity of it. The thing that we are doing this year that's a little bit different for Author Nation is we're producing a gift guide, and that came because we were sitting there going, gosh, remember when you used to get the Sears catalog?
Oh, yeah.
And you'd circle what you wanted,
yeah.
and then you handed it to your mom.
Yeah.
Like, what if authors could do that with their family? Like, what if they could circle their, headphones that they want and hand it to their spouse and their kids and get that? And then, of course, I ran around the house singing I'm a Toys R Us kid the rest of the day, because that was like instant memory unlocked for this Gen X kid. So, so we're doing I called it the super awesomest of all awesome gift catalog for writers that write, which is why Alice names things.
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to name things or put graphics, but so.
But yeah, that kind of stuff really has power.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Psychological power, but also just, thinking through what people want. And hopefully it's going to be vendor discounts and vendor coupons and all the things that we're going to stuff in this awesomest gift catalog of all catalogs. It's a work in progress. We'll land on something.
But just again, you guys have such creative ideas and playing around with your business. It's like, that's something I know some authors that will be listening saying, well, I could do it.
Sure you could.
Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Steal any idea,
Yeah.
right? It's there's nothing proprietary about what we do.
Yeah.
Look over our shoulder, see what works, see if it works for you. We're thrilled when something else works for
for people.
Yeah.
Thrilled.
Well, and as people are doing more and more direct sales, then you have their like going back to, you've got their physical address. If you've mailed them a book, you have their address. So you could send them like even just a postcard or a larger mailer with, basically a one-pager. I mean, you'd probably want to make it cuter for family, but hey, if you love my books, like mark on which ones you're missing and give it to your family.
Yeah. Does your husband suck at buying gifts?
Yeah.
Let's help him out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And can I have his email address? Right? There's a way that you could make that experience even more fun, where it's like, what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to send him my catalog and help him to select books, and so you'll be surprised on Christmas Day or your birthday.
Yeah, hilariously on Mother's Day, I would always walk in the door and say, "Hey, look what you got me!" Right?
Yeah.
It was just, I was never disappointed. Never disappointed.
Never surprised.
Never surprised.
The person that this is in the room, and she's actually bought stuff for me to give her on a holiday that she's then returned.
That's not terrible.
I've changed my mind.
Yeah.
I had a best friend who, their first year of marriage, I helped her husband get her stargazer lilies for their anniversary. And like 10 years later, she looked at her husband and she said, "Why do you give me stargazer lilies every year? That's Chelle's favorite flower. That's not my favorite flower." It took her 10 years to like speak up. But I mean, every year her house smelled amazing.
Yeah. For my kids, their Mother's Day gift was always just what Mom wanted.
Exactly. So specific. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's get this wrapped up. What people, where can people find the magazine? How can they get a subscription? Where and when can they get the special edition for Author Nation? All that good stuff.
So if you go to indieauthormagazine.com/AuthorNation, there is a special page there where you can learn all about the things that we're doing with Author Nation, and we have a special edition ready for people to subscribe to right there. Easy breezy. Wow. We don't make things hard. We try and be really stupid simple. We're stupid simple people. We want things stupid simple.
We might overcomplicate things on the backside.
Oh,
yeah.
Buddy.
Yeah.
We'll talk about Zapier another day.
Yeah. But it's all, I think that's the other thing down the road. We should all write a book about planning a conference. And what is involved in all that, and all the fun stuff that we did, and what did work and what didn't work.
I mean, I think, we came at it from a shared vision of making sure that it was the most successful conference in terms of what people had, not just at the conference, but where they were 6 months from the end of the conference. Mm-hmm. So, yes, programming, yes, all the things that we learned, but I think we came at it from the shared vision of this isn't just a one-day event. This is helping you in the broadest possible sense of your career.
Yeah.
And our success will be measured by how many books are done and how many campaigns are run and how many things are successful 6 months from November 15th.
Yeah, it's actually built into our system for us to track and incentivize our community's success.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we want to see more books published, because if you are going to be that next big deal author and have that dream that you have of writing a story, we have to get your book published.
Yeah.
And then we got to get you to break even. And then we got to get you knowing what's most sustainable for you. So we had a nice end there. We're going to leave it there. Thank you for coming on. It's always great having you on, Chelle and Alice.
Thank you. It's so great to be here.
I'm just so excited Alice was here.
See, that's why we need to do this.
I'm telling you. Yeah.
Like, you know what it was like, because we're in Cleveland, how much fun this is when we
It
get
is
to
fun.
sit around face to face.
Yeah.
But yeah, like real life Alice here, she's not 3D.
No, she's not AI.
I exist.
And she's the co-founder of
Yeah.
the magazine,
Yeah.
not just
And-
like...
She's around in a lot of places, but this may be the most she's actually talked and like revealed the secret inner Alice.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, if I would shut up, she would probably have more opportunity to speak.
Maybe.
Yikes.
I'm very content to let you speak.
It works well. It's a great partnership.
And to see how you've taken this on, and also, like Matt Reel at Lulu, who's got an amazing amount of exposure to different people doing different things. He's talked to me a couple times about how dope he thinks your stuff that you're doing and how you're using the technology.
That means a lot.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that means a lot. I mean, I published my first book with Lulu, so I've had an affinity for Lulu forever.
Yeah.
And you know, it all started at a conference. So come to Author Nation and see what possibilities exist, because it started for us meeting at a conference.
Absolutely, yeah. That's the thing that a digital ticket will never do, is get you to where you find people that like that crazy idea you had, that they're like, no, that's not crazy.
Yeah.
Just if we do this, and they're like, oh, you have the missing part to this puzzle.
Yeah.
Boom.
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah, or there's this third person that like that Chelle knows this person and that has the answer for you.
Yeah.
And that it's very difficult to simulate that online. It's an in-person thing.
You know, given where our genesis is from another show, and people asking why did I find that important to go on, it's because of stuff like this.
Yeah.
Like it's because without without events, those magic moments don't happen.
Yeah,
and
agreed.
People that were questioning my sanity, my response to them is, yeah, but where did you meet that person? Or where did you learn that thing? Because I know their story, right? I know them enough to be like, oh yeah, if you didn't hear that person speak back in 2011, or not 2016 or 17, whatever, you wouldn't have done that.
Right.
There's actually, like, you can trace the lineage of this thing back to like one major show.
Well, and you can trace the reason why both of us jumped in and said yes. We answered the call was because we wanted the community to continue.
Yeah.
We wanted to be sure that it continued in a way that was as beneficial for other people as it was for us.
Yeah.
Right. We wanted to carry on that spirit of generosity. We wanted to carry on that spirit of giving, and you were committed to it, so we were committed to it, and so yeah, lots of. I'm very excited for Author Nation, but I'm also excited just because it is like the family reunion all over again. There's things that have been changed, but it's not change that should be scary or so different that people are, turned off by it. It is a natural evolution and the genesis of the generosity and the spirit and the excitement and the enthusiasm and the learning that's always been.
Yeah.
That we all started with.
Yeah, and it's not like those moments are not going to continue to happen.
Right.
Where we have to end this, but we could all go through a whole list of times where it was like you were there at the seminal moment of some shift in the industry,
Yeah.
right? And it usually happens at these events
Yeah.
where somebody comes in and said, I would put them into two categories, where the thing happens, where the people that are going to go out and pioneer or whatever are brought together and like, we're going to try this, we're going to go make a magazine, or we're going to do this kind of newsletter swap, or whatever the thing is that is the kind of the next thing that moves the industry. Or somebody gets up there and is like, hey, I've been looking at my business and this is what I found out, here's the data, and now I did this different thing because of that data, and I'm getting these better results. And people are like, oh, maybe I should go look at that data.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Or just have coffee with that person. You may not understand the data, but you can at least understand the enthusiasm and meet that person who might meet that person who might meet that person. That's probably the coolest thing about this industry, is how generous we are. I say it all the time, and how amazing it is that we're still sort of in the toddlerhood of it, and we're all connected.
Well, one thing I want to, and I'm a little sensitive to this, but I think that I've observed at some shows there tends to be a little bit more clustering of people across maybe genre or where they are economically. And I would caution folks, maybe there's certain things you share in different places, but push yourself to be available to those other things, because you don't know who you're going to meet, right? Like, let serendipity have its moment. Sit down at a table and talk to people, because you may find yourself that right now that person doesn't seem all that relevant, but in 2 years from now they're going to be either your partner or you're going to need to reach out to them for help.
Yeah. We met on Clubhouse. Like, who knows where things take you?
Right, right.
You never know.
Right. It was, but it was also that the adjacency of we were both in this other larger community, and then you knew people and I knew those people, and so when we showed up in Clubhouse, that network effect happened, and we got talking, and then it just went from there. Right. It just be so. Oh yeah, I think what you're doing is cool, and you were just starting. Well, at that point when we met, because that was
the magazine was infant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
within months. Baby.
Yeah.
We were still building the plane as we flew it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally. Starting a company and starting a magazine with a product at the same time.
Yes.
It's crazy. But here we are, 3 years later,
Awesome.
1.5 years later. We're doing a Midwest goodbye. We're doing like, okay,
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. You first. Well, we'll end it here. That's it. This is the real goodbye. See you guys later. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.